My family took over my house. Did you really think this house was just yours? They divided rooms among themselves. You should be grateful, said my mother. They thought I'd accept it and stay quiet, until they were left with nothing. My name is Clara. I'm 32 years old, and until recently, I was living the happiest moment of my life. After years of saving every peso, working extra shifts at the dental clinic where I'm a receptionist, and fighting with banks to get a loan, I finally bought the house I'd always dreamed of. It's not a palace, but to me it's perfect. A 2-story place in a quiet neighborhood, with 3 bedrooms, a light-filled patio where I imagined a garden, and a spacious kitchen where I planned to cook my favorite recipes. I painted it white on the outside, put blue curtains on the windows, and made every corner my own. It was my refuge, my victory. But then my family arrived and everything fell apart. It was a Saturday morning about 3 weeks after I moved in. I was in the kitchen, still in pajamas, cutting fruit for a smoothie when I heard a noise outside. I thought it was the garbage truck or a neighbor, but then I saw an old van parked in front of my house. Before I could react, the doorbell rang. I opened the door and there they were. My mother, my older brother Luis, and my younger sister Anna. Behind them, the van was packed with suitcases, boxes, and broken furniture. My mother didn't greet me. She just looked at me with annoyance and said, "Open the door already, Clara. We're staying here with you." Froze. I didn't understand what was happening. My coffee mug shook in my hand as I tried to process it. Staying. What are you talking about, Mom? Why didn't you tell me? Asked, my voice breaking. She pushed past me without waiting for permission. Luis and Anna followed as if they already owned the place. Don't be dramatic, Clara, my mother said, dropping an old bag on my new couch. We got evicted from the apartment. Luis hasn't paid rent in months, and Anna can't find a job because everything's beneath her. We had nowhere to go. What did you expect? That we'd sleep on the street while you're here in your pretty little house? I tried to stay calm, though my heart was pounding. Mom, wait. This is too sudden. This is my house. Bought it. I'm not prepared for you to live here. She turned around, eyes narrowed, with that harsh tone she uses to make me feel guilty. Your house, she shouted. I gave you life, you ungrateful girl. Without me, you wouldn't be here showing off your things. This family is your responsibility. Or what? Are you so selfish you can't share what you have with us? Her words hit me like a punch. I stood there, silent, watching as Luis started unloading things from the van and Anna went upstairs with a suitcase. I tried to say something, but my mother kept going. Look, Clara, don't be selfish. We were raised to help each other. You have this big house and live alone like a queen. We need a place. So open your eyes and be grateful we're here to keep you company. I didn't know how to respond. I've always been the responsible one in the family. Since I left home at 20, my mother has seen me as her personal ATM. If Luis needs money for his debts, they call me. If Anna wants something she can't afford, they come to me. But this was another level. They weren't asking for help. They were taking what was mine. In less than an hour, my house was no longer mine. Luis took the upstairs room I wanted to use as a study for reading and work, tossing my books into a corner and throwing his old mattress on the floor. Anna claimed the guest room, the nicest one, and started filling the closet with her clothes without even looking at me. My mother sat up in the living room, moving my couch to make space for an ugly table she brought. I just stood there, hands trembling, as they acted like it was the most normal thing in the world. That night I didn't sleep. I locked myself in my room, the only space they left me, and listened to Luis's snores and the TV my mother left on. I felt like an intruder in my own home. I tried to convince myself it was temporary, that they'd leave soon, but something told me it wouldn't be that easy. The following days were hell. Luis spent his days sprawled on the couch, watching TV and leaving trash everywhere. Anna complained about everything. The water wasn't hot enough, my internet was too slow, the house was too small for her. My mother took over my kitchen, cooking greasy food that left the walls smelling like oil. If I tried to say anything, they attacked me. Clara, don't be bitter, Luis would say, eyes glued to the TV. This is temporary. Relax. Oh, daughter, you're so dramatic, my mother would add. You should be happy to have us here. Or would you rather we starve on the street? A week later, things got worse. My mother started giving me orders like I was her maid. Clara, wash the dishes. Clara, go to the store for food. Clara, lend money for the electricity. Luis broke a hallway lamp and didn't even apologize. Anna used my expensive shampoo and left the bottle empty. Every time I tried to set a boundary, my mother shut me down with the same line. Don't be selfish, Clara. Gave you life. Everything you have is because of me. Take care of your family like you're supposed to. I tried talking to them one afternoon, about 10 days after they arrived. I sat in the living room, heart racing, and said, Look, I love you all, but this can't go on. This is my house. I need my space. When are you leaving? Luis let out a mocking laugh. Anna didn't even look up, still texting on her phone. My mother answered in the coldest voice I'd ever heard. Leave. Where, Clara? We have nothing. You have this nice house and want to kick us out? You're a disgrace. You're so selfish. If it weren't for me, you wouldn't even exist. So shut up and be grateful we're here. I was speechless. I felt like I was suffocating. It wasn't just that they'd invaded my house. They were making me feel guilty for defending what I'd worked so hard for. That night, as they slept, I sat on my bed with my hands on my head. My house, my dream, was turning into a nightmare. 2 weeks later, things got uglier. One night, I came home from work and found my mother with strangers, neighbors I didn't know, drinking coffee in my living room like it was her social club. Luis had invited friends over, and they were shouting in the patio, drinking beers and leaving cigarette butts in my flower pots. Anna had thrown out my plants to make space for her things. When I tried to complain, my mother grabbed my arm and whispered, Don't make a scene, Clara. If you keep acting like this, I'll tell everyone what a terrible daughter you are. Do you want people to know you're leaving us on the street? Behave and leave us alone. That was it. Something inside me broke. It wasn't just my house they wanted, it was my life. They were blackmailing me with guilt, shame, everything they knew would hurt me. But that night, as I walked around the neighborhood to clear my head, something changed. In the cold and the anger, I realized I couldn't keep going like this. If they wanted my house, they'd have to fight for it, but I wasn't going to give up so easily.
When he got back, the house was quiet. They were asleep, as if nothing was wrong. He sat in my room with a notebook and started writing down ideas. He didn't know much about the lab, but he was going to find out how to get them out. This wasn't going to end the way they thought. My house was mine, and he was going to take it back, even if it meant leaving them on the street. After that night, when he decided not to stay silent, something inside him shifted. It wasn't just anger anymore, it was a strength he didn't know yet. My house, the one he'd worked so hard for, wasn't going to be a gift for my family just because they wanted it. But it wouldn't be easy. My mother, Luis, and Anna weren't going to give up quickly, and he soon realized they were willing to do anything to stay. The following days were like walking through a minefield. My mother started acting like she owned the house. One morning, as he was getting ready for work, he saw her in the living room talking on the phone. When she hung up, she looked at me with a crooked smile and said, Clara, I talked to your Aunt Rosa. I told her how well you're taking care of Uese here. She says you're a good daughter for looking after Uese. I tried to ignore her, but she kept going. Of course, I also told her you're being difficult sometimes, like you don't want to help Uese. It'd be a shame if the whole family found out how selfish you can be. He froze. It was blatant blackmail. She was using the family, the people he cared about, to make me feel guilty. He didn't respond, just grabbed my bag and left for work. But on the drive, he couldn't get her words out of my head. He knew my mother was capable of this and more. She'd always been good at manipulating, at getting others to do what she wanted. And now she had a weapon, my reputation. When he got home that afternoon, things got worse. Luis was in the living room with a guy he didn't know, a big man with tattoos and an unfriendly face. They were looking at papers on the coffee table. When he walked in, Luis called me over like he was his employee. Clara, come here a second. I need you to sign this. What is it? He asked, approaching cautiously. It's a document, he said, as if it were obvious, to put the house in our names. So there is no problem if something happens. We're a family, right? He looked at the papers. He didn't understand much about legal terms, but he saw my address and words like shared property. My stomach churned. I'm not signing anything, Luis, he said, trying to sound firm though my voice shook. This house is mine. He bought it. He let out a dry, ugly laugh, and the guy next to him looked at me like he was nothing. Don't be stupid, Clara. If you don't sign, we can make things harder. Mom already said this is fair. Or do you want us to go to a judge and say you're kicking us out like dogs? There it was again, the blackmail. Not just from my mother, but Luis too, fully in on it. He turned and went to my room without saying another word, locking the door behind me. He sat on the bed, breathing fast. They didn't just want to stay, they wanted to take my house for good. That night, Anna joined the game. He went to the kitchen for a glass of water and found her eating a sandwich she'd made with my bread and my jam. She looked at me with a mocking expression and said, "Wow, Clara, this place is so nice. Too bad you're so bitter. Mom says if you don't let us stay, she'll tell everyone you're keeping us like beggars while you live here like a queen." He swallowed hard but didn't answer. She kept going. "And he can post some photos online, you know? Show how you treat us. People will be mad at you. Think about it." He sat silent, but inside he was boiling. It was an attack from all sides, my mother with guilt, Luis with threats, Anna with public shaming. They wanted to corner me, make me feel like he had no way out. But they didn't know he'd already made a decision. The next day, during my lunch break at work, he went to a small lab office near the clinic. He didn't have much money, but he needed help. He walked in nervously, clutching my notebook full of notes about what was happening. A young lawyer named Laura, who seemed to know her stuff, listened as he told her everything, how my family moved in without permission, how they were blackmailing me, how they wanted me to sign papers. She took notes silently, then said, "Clara, this is an invasion of your property. The house is in your name, right? Do you have the documents?" "Yes," he replied. "They're in my safe deposit box at the bank." "Perfect," she said. "We can get them out legally. First, we send a notice to Bucket. If they don't leave, we go to the police and get an order. They can't take back yours just because they raid your family." He felt immense relief but also fear. He knew my family wouldn't live without a fight. He asked Laura to start the process, and that afternoon, he signed the papers for the notice. She said an officer would deliver it to my house in a few days. As he drove back, he talked about what was coming. It was going to be a war. When he got home, he tried to act normal, but they already suspected something. My mother cornered me in the kitchen while he was heating soup. "Clara, where were you?" she asked, arms crossed. "Luis says I saw you rushing out at noon. What are you up to?" "Nothing, ma'am, believe. Used a work errand." She stared at me like she was trying to read my mind. "You better not be doing something stupid. If you try to kick us out, you'll regret it. He gave you life, girl. Don't make me look bad to the family." He didn't say anything, just finished my soup and went to my room. But that night, he didn't sleep well. I dreamed of my mother crying on the street, Luis yelling at me, and posting videos calling me a monster. I woke up sweating, heart racing. For a moment, I doubted myself, was I being too harsh? But then I remembered my house, my effort, my dreams. I wasn't going to let them take it. 2 days later, the notice arrived. I was at work when Laura called to say an officer had gone to my house. When I got home that afternoon, the atmosphere was like a funeral. My mother was in the living room, holding the paper, read with rage. Luis and Anna were beside her, glaring at me like they wanted to kill me. "What is this, Clara?" my mother screamed, waving the paper. "You're kicking out your own family." I tried to stay calm. "Ma'am, this is my house. I asked you to leave, and you didn't. You left me no choice." She got so close I could feel her breath on my face. "You're a traitor. After everything I did for you, I gave you life, and this is how you repay me? We're going to fight this, Clara. We're not leaving so easily." Luis stepped forward, fists clenched. "This isn't over. If you kick us out, I swear you'll pay. We can say you stole from us, that the house was ours too. Was going to believe you?" Anna pulled out her phone and started recording. "Smile, Clara. This is going online. People will see what kind of sister you are." My legs were shaking, but I didn't back down. "Do what you want," I said. "The law is on my side. You have 1 week to leave, or the police will remove you." My mother let out a bitter laugh. "You think you're going to win? You don't know who you're messing with, girl." That week was chaos. My mother called uncles, cousins, even neighbors, telling a twisted version of the story, that I was leaving them on the street out of pure malice. Luis brought that tattooed guy back, and they whispered in the patio, planning who knows what. Anna posted videos crying, saying I was cruel. My phone filled with messages from people insulting me, calling me a bad person. But I didn't give up. I talked to Laura every day, and she assured me everything was in order. The lab was clear, the house was mine, and they had no right to be there. The day the deadline arrived, I knew I'd won the first battle, but I also knew this wasn't over. My family wasn't going to live without fighting to the end. The week after the notice was like living in a storm. My mother, Luis, and Anna didn't give up easily. Every day was a new fight, a new attempt to make me give in. My mother cried in the living room, screaming that I was an ungrateful daughter, that I was killing her with my selfishness. Luis kept bringing that tattooed guy, and I overheard them talking about fixing this their way. Anna posted videos on social media, showing the house like it was a prison and saying I was keeping them like prisoners. My phone wouldn't stop ringing with messages from distant cousins, uncles, even childhood friends, all telling me I was cruel. How could I do this to my family? But I wasn't swayed anymore. I talked to Laura every day. She kept saying, "Clara, the law is on your side. They can't do anything. Hold on a little longer." And I did. I held on. I locked myself in my room when I got home from work, ate in silence, and avoided looking them in the eye. I knew the notice's deadline was approaching, and if they didn't leave willingly, the police would remove them. The final day came on a Tuesday morning. I'd taken the day off work because I knew what was coming. At 9 de la mañana sharp, 2 officers rang the doorbell. I opened the door, hands sweating, and behind me, I heard my mother scream, "Clara, don't you dare." But it was done. The officers walked in, their dark uniforms and serious faces commanding attention, and read the document aloud. It was an eviction order. My family had to leave immediately. They were given half an hour to gather their things. What followed was chaos. My mother threw herself on the floor, crying and yelling that I was a monster, that God would punish me. Luis started insulting the officers, saying it was unfair, that they wasn't moving. Anna recorded everything on her phone, saving for the camera and saying he was the worst person in the world. The officers didn't flinch. One of them, a tall man with a mustache, said to Luis, "Sir, if you don't leave on your own, we'll remove you. Your choice." In the end, they had no choice. Amid screams and tears, they started packing their things. Luis carried his old mattress and boxes to the van. Anna came down with suitcases full of clothes, glaring at me with hatred. My mother was the last to leave, clutching a bag, her face red from crying. Before she left, she stood in front of me and said, "You'll regret this, Clara. You left us on the street. You're a disgrace to this family. Ella never forgive you." I didn't respond. I just watched as she climbed into the van with Luis and Anna. The officers stayed until they were gone, and when the engine started and the van disappeared around the corner, I felt like I could breathe for the first time in weeks. I walked back into my house and closed the door. Everything was silent, but it wasn't a peaceful silence, it was a mess. They left trash everywhere, beer cans, dirty dishes, cigarette butts in the patio. My broken lamp was still in the hallway, my plants were destroyed, and the walls had stains from who knows what. I sat on the couch, looking at the disaster, and for a moment, I felt empty. I won, but it didn't feel like a victory. That night, as I cleaned, I talked about what had happened. My family was on the street. I didn't know where they began, but I imagined they were cramped somewhere, blaming me for everything. And Toby was furious with them, their blackmail, their lies, their selfishness. Part of me felt bad. I wasn't a monster. I didn't want them to starve or freeze. I just wanted my life back. The next day, I went to the bank. I withdrew 5,000 pesos from my savings, not much, but enough for them to rent a cheap room or buy food for a few weeks. I put the money in an envelope with a short note, "This is the last thing I'm giving you. Don't contact me again. Take care." I didn't sign it with my name, used as a Tenías coworker, Javier, to deliver it for me. I gave him the address of the workshop where Luis sometimes worked and told him not to mention my name, used to drop off the envelope and leave. Javier didn't ask questions, just nodded and said he'd do it. When I called that afternoon to say the envelope had been delivered, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. I didn't know if they'd use it wisely or blow it in one night. It wasn't my problem anymore. I'd given them something, not because they deserved it, but because I needed to close that door with a clear conscience. The following days were strange. I cleaned the house from top to bottom, threw out their trash, fixed the patio, and bought new plants. Slowly, the place started feeling like mine again, but I was also alone. My phone stopped ringing, the hateful messages stopped, and no one from the family contacted me. I figured the money had quieted them for a while, or maybe they were too busy hating me to try. I didn't know, and I decided I didn't care. A week after the eviction, I sat in my kitchen with a cup of coffee, looking out at the patio where my new flowers were starting to grow. I talked about my mother, her screams, her "I gave you life." I talked about Luis' arrogance, Anna's videos. I felt a pang of sadness but also relief. They weren't my responsibility. They never had been. They chose their path, and I chose mine. That night, I made a simple dinner, chicken with rice and vegetables. I played soft music, opened the blue curtains I love, and ate alone at my table. For the first time in a long time, I smiled. My house was mine again, not perfect, not without scars from what happened, but mine. Months passed. I went back to my routine, work, home, occasional outings with co-workers. No one from my family contacted me, and I didn't reach out to them. Sometimes he heard rumors through acquaintances that they were living in a teeny room across town, that Luis still didn't have a steady job, that Anna was complaining about everything on social media. He didn't feel joy about it, but he didn't feel guilt either. He'd given them a way out, and what they did with it was their choice. One day, while watering my plants, he talked about what he'd learned. It wasn't selfishness to defend what was mean. It wasn't wrong to set boundaries, even if it had. My house, my dream, was worth it. And though part of me would always love my family, he knew he couldn't carry them forever. So he moved forward. He painted the walls a lighter color, bought a new couch, and turned the study into a space for reading and work. My life wasn't perfect, but it was mine. And for the first time in a long time, he felt free.